Hey y'all, welcome back to Doing It All with Jess and M. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Emily, and today we have a very special guest. Lizzie, if you would like to introduce yourself really quick.
Yes, hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Lizzy Fleissner. I went all through college with both Jess and Emily. And I have not seen their faces in so long. I know we're on a Zoom call now too, so
So
I've
good
just missed
though.
so much.
It's a reunion.
But I'm very excited to be here.
We're so excited that you agreed to sharing your job, your future, or your now gig, not your future gig, but you'll also probably share your future ideas for what you want in your life. But before we interview Lizzie, we obviously have to do our happies and crappies. Who would like to go first? I'll go
I
first.
could go first.
Oh, wow, jumping
Um,
right in. Go ahead.
Yeah, love it.
yeah, so I would say probably my crappy for today, our teaching schedule is a little chaotic because kids are back in school. So not only are we rehearsing, we'll get into it in a little bit. We rehearse in the evenings and we teach workshops at schools during the day when the kids are there. But I have other meetings with like our home office, and I missed one of them this morning because I was in the middle of teaching a workshop. So it's just kind of a little bit of a pain. Nothing too crazy, but that's probably my crappy for today. My happy is being here and seeing you guys. I'm so excited.
Yay! I'm just so
Yay.
excited that you're excited. Jess, do you want to go next or do you want me to go next?
I'll go.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yay.
I didn't know if you had your happies or crappies yet.
I know, I feel like we've kind of like reversed roles this season so far.
Yeah, last season I never had anything ready.
And like you've always been prepared and I'm like, I don't know. But I did think about it. My crappy is that I have not been able to sleep like at all this whole week.
Me too.
So maybe it's the moon.
No idea.
Almost Libra season. Maybe that's why. Like, but my happy is I've had a lot of happies lately. This is like one of them. I got a pedicure today and it was so wonderful. But I've gotten ClassPass about a week ago, and so this week I've been like kind of using that. And I went to go take a Pure Barre class on Monday, see one of my old coworkers, and then I took a cycle bar class yesterday. I've never taken a spin class, but
Was it fun? Did you like it?
oh my God, it was so fun. I was like, this is amazing. And one of my old Pure Barre coworkers, she teaches spin also, so I got to take her class and see her, and I hadn't seen her in like over a year, so that was really nice also. So yeah.
Yay! How sore are your legs today?
Oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually work out like 3, 4 times a week, but cycling and then like running is so different, and I didn't know. And then your shoes like that stay on the bike because they're strapped in. I was like, whoa. So that was like a little bit of a learning curve for me. And your like crotch is like sore from like sitting on the
That's what I was
bike.
gonna say. My last spin class that I took, I like my thighs where I was sitting on the bike were bruised so badly
No,
after my
I was
spin
like,
class.
I didn't like really think about that part. And then today I was like, oh, mm. So that is like, but apparently it gets like better the more you take, like it's like less noticeable or whatever. So I will definitely be going back. I really loved it.
My crappy today, the weather. It looks like it's gonna rain, and our weather was beautiful and fall like last week, and this week it got hot. I don't want it to be hot anymore. I want it to be 60 degrees, but today it's hot and rainy, which is just crappy, and I have to go work later, which is also crappy, but whatever, that's my crappy. My happy though is I think by the time this episode goes up, everything will already be shared. If not, I'll just cut this out. But my happy is that I got cast in the show. Finally, woohoo! Doing the
So
acting stuff.
excited.
So I'm sure Jess and I now both are doing more theater things. So I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about theater. And I'm a swing, in a little fun show called Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I'm sure I'll have, maybe once I'm done swinging, we can talk about swings and understudies and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited. I also
Woohoo,
have a lot of
swing
happies.
nation. So proud.
Thanks. They probably saw my dance captain things on a resume and were like, oh, yeah, she can swing.
Yeah, she'll be
They're
fine.
probably like, she'll be
No,
fine. But
bet.
yeah, I'm really excited. So that's what
Yay,
happens,
congratulations.
guys. Well, now we get to turn it to Lizzie. And first, Lizzie, we just want you to kind of tell us about yourself, how you got into theater. Doesn't have to be super long. You can share as much as you want, share as much as you don't want, but just a little bio about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Lizzy. Um, and I got started into theater, thankfully, at a pretty young age. I grew up in a really small town in Valley, Nebraska. And my mom is a huge lover of the arts, big theater nerd like me. I have two sisters that were in dance, so they had put me in dance when I was 3. And I was starting to go see shows. The first show that I ever saw on Broadway was Lion King, where I guess it toured. And my mom started taking me more frequently to see community theater in the area, children's theater, stuff like that. And I told her, I want to do that. I want to do that. So when I actually on my 9th birthday, she let me audition for a show at the Rose Theater in Omaha downtown called Madeline's Christmas, and I was cast as Madeline. It was a double cast show. I was 9 years old. And I met my childhood best friend in that show. She played the little mouse, Claire. And her mom was the resident choreographer at the theater. And then she had her own dance studio. So, based on the people that I met there, I started dancing competitively for the studio at the Rose Theater. And now it has just like exploded into this huge theater facility, which is really, really lovely to see. And then from that point on, I just continued performing, really, really stuck with it, competitive dance and things like that. I cheered and danced still in high school. I did show choir, big show choir girly. And then when I was 12, I told my mom that I wanted to move to New York City and pursue a career in theater. I was pretty ambitious. And so we really started looking at like performing arts colleges pretty early on in high school. Started auditioning, went to the Unifieds in Chicago. A lot of theater students are a part of those. And then actually was called back to a New York school and a Chicago school. But Jack and Joan were at the Unifieds. And so my mom was like, well, Nebraska Wesleyan is a really great school. They have an amazing program. I had known our friend Paloma Power, doing some community theater with her growing up, and knew that she was at Wesleyan. And Kyle Wright, I also knew. So we went and saw Jack and Joan at Unifieds, and I absolutely fell in love with them. Absolutely fell in love with them. Scheduled a visit, went and visited Wesleyan, and then they had offered me a role in West Side Story while I was there visiting. And I had made my decision that I was going to go to Wesleyan. So went to Wesleyan for all 4 years, did theater there, just had the absolute time of my life. It's just such a wonderful program. I really enjoyed it. Senior year, COVID hits. We left for spring break and never returned. Finished my degree online via Zoom. And then since then, since COVID hit, Maddie and I and Emma Kate finished out our lease there in Lincoln. Moved home with my mom for a little bit and then got an apartment and started working professionally. I was lucky, I was really fortunate to work professionally in the Omaha area for about 3 years before I moved. And then I got a gig with Missoula, which is where I'm at now. So crazy, crazy times.
That's such a great way to segue into the next
Into the
question.
thing.
What are you doing now? What is Missoula? Tell us more.
Yes. So I am currently on tour. I'm on a Pacific Northwestern tour right now with a company called Missoula Children's Theater. They are in Missoula, Montana. Beautiful, beautiful mountain town, about a little over 6,000 feet elevation. And what they do is they have their own community, like residential theater, but they also have a touring company. I believe they've been touring since 1972. And
Wow.
what they do is they send tour teams out. They assign us to shows. They're all like children's, like either like Disney related and or like Grimm Brothers tales stories, things like that. So I'm on tour with Rapunzel right now.
Cute.
Um, it's
Fun.
quite different from Tangled. The kids are usually pretty surprised to find out that it's not the same music from the film or anything like that. But it is we're a little biased because we love the show, but it's a very fun production. And what we do is every Sunday we drive in a Ford F-150 to the next city that we are performing in. We hold auditions on Mondays and we put local children in our production of the show with us. So we audition them on Mondays, put them in our production, and then we spend Monday through usually Thursday rehearsing our show, putting it all together. So we put a full musical up in like 5 days, which is insane. We can cast up to 64 children, put them in our show. We do have an assistant director program where we allow young interested directors to be a part of like the backstage scene if they prefer not to be on stage, which is really, really neat and special. And then Fridays and Saturdays are typically when our shows happen. And then Sundays, we do it all over again. We drive to the next city. So I was just on tour with them over this summer. I was in a Southeastern tour. So I did like Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Alabama, Louisiana area. It was extremely hot. It was like over 100 degrees everywhere. Absolutely insane. And then I play the narrator in the show Frenchie, which is a really fun French character, which Joan Cordy would laugh so hard because my French dialect was so terrible in college, like absolutely horrible. And then I get cast as a French character, and it was not on my resume. So they made a wild choice with that one.
They're like, oh, she'll learn.
But I've learned so much. I've learned so much. And I'm on tour with one other actor who is fabulous. We love working together. He's really, really great with all the students. And he's also a professional actor. And we really like click as coworkers. Everything just runs really, really smoothly for us. So it's been such an incredible opportunity. So I'm acting, I'm performing, directing, and I'm traveling, which is really, really cool to have it all my loves combined into one. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing right now.
That's so amazing. You seem so like I'm so happy for you and so proud of you. You're so happy.
Thank you.
And, like I like really and like knowing you and like you have like nieces and nephews, so I could just like see you with like all the
Okay.
kids, like because I've seen you with them, so it's like, uh,
Yeah,
you're like I bet amazing at it. I know you are because you're amazing. But yeah,
I love
aw,
this job so much. It came like as a total like blessing when I was least expecting it. So it's really, really incredible. It's really, really incredible. I enjoy it a lot.
that's awesome.
It's like I didn't even know half of I knew what you were doing, but not really. So hearing what you're actually doing is like, whoa, I just can't believe you're putting on shows with children in a week.
But
It's
also, I really
insane.
think that like Wesleyan like prepared us to be like insane like that, and
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I feel like you're
Absolutely.
like a breeze, like maybe
Yeah.
not a
I
breeze, but
think
like you're used to juggling a lot.
it's so true. It's so true. And like, I mean, it's so funny too, because I meet people like when I came to Missoula, there were 64 of us on tour with this company this summer. There were a lot of us. Now it's about cut in half because a lot of actors went back to college. A lot of them were still doing this as a summer job. And when we went, I had let them know, hey, I went to Nebraska Wesleyan because they asked, and they were like, I heard you guys do so many shows there. And I was like, yeah, it is like quite insane. But I fully think that Wesleyan totally prepared me for this job. I really do. It was definitely helpful.
Yeah. I guess like a good like segue now is to like how did you find audition, everything like that? What was your how did you find this program in the company that you're working for now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have continued to audition for Updoes and Straw Hat since graduating. And Straw Hat is another industry that runs in New York, where I submitted all my materials in January. And then I think by like mid March, early April is when they start emailing about callbacks or dance things or stuff like that. So I did like a dance reel and vocal reel with a monologue for my audition. And then Straw Hat had messaged me through, Missoula had messaged me through Straw Hat. And what I didn't realize going back into my inbox was that they had messaged me last year when I had auditioned as well. So I went, researched the company when they had reached out about callbacks and found out that actually Elkie Myers, who
Oh.
was, Emily, was she a year younger than you at
Yes.
Wesleyan?
Yes, she was.
Um, yeah, so I had found out that she was on staff. She toured for them for 7 months. And I Facebook messaged her and asked her about the company. And she really had like no bad things to say about the company. She just, it was like all pros. The only con was just it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Um, so I continued on. I had reached out to them, wanted to know more about the company. We had some info sessions over Zoom, and then had proceeded to finish up some callbacks, things like that, and was hired on with them in April. And then I moved to Montana in May, late May. Was there for about a week training. I learned my track in about 12 hours, as well as everybody else's track, so that we could teach the show. And then I was on the road a week after getting to Montana. I met my tour partner 6 days before leaving, and we were in a Ford F-150 for 40 hours from Montana to Georgia for our first week of work. So, but that was kind of how I got into the whole Missoula deal, and I love it.
Wow.
It like found you.
Yeah.
It did. It did when I was least expecting it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What is it like now being on tour and traveling and living with people you met a few months ago and all that jazz? What's that like?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Living out of a suitcase is a whole other beast. Um, it's sometimes we get weeks off and I've been able to go home and see family, which is huge because I'm very family oriented. I have six nieces and nephews that are just the loves of my life. I just adore them. But living out of a suitcase is definitely a lot different. We are either in like hotels or Airbnbs, or we stay with a homestay family that is in the area that enjoys hosting actors with the Missoula company. And it's been a really incredible experience. I've really enjoyed it. We've just met the kindest, sweetest people on this tour too, and it's very surprising because it's just something like I know that I've always wanted to tour, but this is something that just kind of came out of the woodwork, and I'm really happy that I'm experiencing it. It's a good time in my life to get out of Nebraska, where I've been for a very long time, and just enjoy my life as an adult in the world of professional theater. So yeah, so life on tour, traveling has got to be like one of the coolest things I've ever been able to do for work. Our drives over the summer were absolutely gorgeous, but I'm in Canada right now. Driving through Canada is unbelievable. It's breathtaking. The photos just don't necessarily do it justice. There's a lot of wildfires here right now still. So that's been a little bit of an interesting part of our tour. Our first week last week here in British Columbia, there were a lot of wildfires. The closest one to us was only 2 miles away. There were evacuation notices going out.
Wow.
It's kind of sad. So everybody pray for Canada, and hope and pray that they get them more under control and that they happen less because it's such a beautiful country. And I just hope and pray that they can get everything under control. But traveling wise, it's been such a blessing because I love being out on the road and seeing and experiencing all these new things. My tour partner, my coworker Tyler, and I have drank so much craft beer on this tour, which is so fun. We also really love experiencing new coffee shops, finding new coffee shops and trying some new things, trying some new foods and things like that. So that has also been like a really, really cool part of tour life. Um, it's all about the experience. I would say it's definitely all about the experience, and we work really hard putting like shows and things together, but it's nice to be able to branch out and enjoy life as well as the job aspect of it, which is really neat. So I highly recommend, like, if you are thinking about going on tour, the travel part of it is really going to be a huge part of your life, as it is as it is mine. I hope that everybody that tours gets the chance to experience those things as well. So, but yeah, a little bit more about tour life and being on the road. Um, Touring children's theater is definitely a different beast versus touring in a production where you're just acting. I would say it's very, very different when you're teaching at the same time. Um, I've toured before my last tour. I was a child actor. I toured with A Christmas Carol with Nebraska Theater Caravan when I was 12. And it's very different versus a child actor and an adult, but also with children's theater with Missoula, what we do is we also have the opportunity with their contracts when we go and perform and teach the show. We also offer them acting workshops. So we do like an acting workshop, we do a mime workshop, we do a improv workshop, and these can be for all ages. We do have one for centered towards younger kids called Drama Quest, where we take them on a fun adventure, and things like that. So that is a really cool part of the job too, not only like directing and or rehearsing in a production, but we're also teaching while we're here too. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds, like all my favorite things put together. And children's theater, there's just nothing quite like it. Seeing the look on a kid's face when they have a theater experience, either they've never done theater before or they have lots of theater experiences. It's very, very different. And it's seeing like those gears turn in a kid's head when they think of something really fun to do on stage. Or when they come up to you and they say, that was my first ever theater experience and I want to do this more. Is That's just like so rewarding as a part of this job with children's theater. And I grew up in a children's theater, so it's kind of a whole like full circle moment for me, being able to experience through a kid's eyes what I experienced as a child as well. So
Oh,
really special.
that is. I
Uh,
came up with a question. It's not on here. It'll be quick though, just because I'm kind of curious because you were talking about like getting to adventure and stuff. What does a typical day look like for you? How much free time do you actually have on tour? I'm sure some days are probably busier than others, but yeah, I'd love to hear like a typical day touring. Look what it looks like.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It depends on the schedule each week where we're at. So we have a main contact every week, or a team contact that organizes or prefers like what schedule we have when we come to each city. Over the summer, we taught most of the time during the day because the kids were not in school. So a lot of those days were teaching in the mornings. We would be up like early. We would either start teaching at like 10. Some mornings we had at 8 a.m. and we were done by noon, which was really cool. Um, and then now kids are back in school, so a lot of our experiences, our first week we were teaching during the day, because they had it as a part of their school day for us to be there. This week we're in 100 Mile House in British Columbia right now, and the kids are all in full-blown school days, so we don't start rehearsals till 3:30 in the evening, after they get out of school. So our nights usually lately have been wrapping up around 8 p.m. And then Tyler and I either have a meeting afterwards or we are putting our setup or setting out costumes. So it's a lot that goes into it. And then we've been at the schools during the day teaching workshops as well. So we have a little bit of time, give or take, but we have some weeks coming up that we teach early in the morning and then we have the entire rest of our day to go explore and check things out. So this week we don't have as much free time. It's been a busier week for us, but there are other weeks that we are able to, after rehearsal, we have the rest of the day, like go out, try some food, like go to a new restaurant. Um, if there's some really, really cool hiking trails, I know last week we did some hiking trails and things like that. When we were out of rehearsal or beforehand, we did like a little over an hour hike right before our performance last week. That was really cool. So it totally depends on the schedule of the week, but I will say the schedule usually does allow time to be able to go sightsee and do really, really cool things. So that's a really awesome plus of the job as well.
Yeah. Nice. I was just curious how much you're like actually working and how much free time you actually have. It's nice that it kind of changes and that it's not all like work, 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 work every single week.
Yes, absolutely. Our standard work week is 40 hours. Tyler and I usually go overtime.
Oh, so it's
It's
kind of like a
we
normal work.
Yes. Yep. So 40 hours. Our biggest, I think we work close to 60. Some of our first weeks on tour just because with all the travel, but it give or take it very much depends. But 40 hours is typically the minimum.
Gotcha.
Oh, if you can answer this, I don't know. How are you paid? Are you paid, do you have like a weekly contract? Are you like an hourly? Is there like a weekly contract and like travel stipend? Like how is that? How does that work for you?
I can go into that a little bit. So we are paid bi-weekly every other Friday. And then we are paid hourly, and it's based on the minimum wage of wherever it is that we are at. So Southeast, I know most of the summer it was like 7.25 throughout. Florida is 11. And then here in Canada, it's almost 17. So it's a little bit different versus where we go. And then based on our contract, we are given specific minimums for the week of what we're granted. And then based on like overtime, extra workshops that are taught, how long our rehearsals are, things like that, that all ties into it. But I will say, versus other professional contracts that I've worked, this is a very well paying job. It's been a really, really great way to make a living as well as to be able to get that the whole experience. So in my opinion, it's very worth it for me. Um, but traveling is also, it can be really, really expensive. Lucky for us, this company takes care of all of that for
That's
us.
awesome. Yeah.
Um, so we get even like weeks that we aren't teaching or working in a specific city, they still give us a stipend for that week for groceries, for sightseeing, things like that. And we have a week off. I know next week we have a week off, so I'll be compensated to enjoy a week in British Columbia because we're back teaching here again the week after that. So we do get all of that stuff. So the only thing we pay for when we're on tour is our food. They take care of all of our housing, like hotels, Airbnbs, our homestays. A lot of times our homestays are so sweet to us and they offer to cook for us throughout the week, which is so kind of them. They don't have to do that at all. But typically we go on like grocery runs and get things and things like that. And then they pay for all of our gas because we are driving a ton. So that's really nice that we don't have to worry about that as
Is it
well.
Ford F-150 too?
Yes, with our set and our costumes and an 8-foot bed attached to it. So it's quite interesting, but it really does all work out really nicely. And luckily for our long drives, like we have a lot of leg room in that truck, so that's been really nice. And this tour, our drive times are a lot less. Our summer tour, we spent over 230 hours in our truck. Um, for that whole 8-week summer tour. Our drives now are much shorter, which has been so convenient. Like our drive, like this past week was only 2 hours, and we didn't know what to do with ourselves. So it is really, really a cool job, and they are so organized. Like it's just been so wonderful. So if you're interested in touring children's theater, I highly recommend looking at Missoula. They're a really wonderful company. I like working for them a lot.
That's awesome.
We only have a few more questions left. Wow. I feel like you've already kind of answered this next one, but what has been your favorite part of being on tour so far? Your most favorite, besides the
It's
traveling, of
gotta
course.
be. It's gotta be the kids. Yeah, yeah. It's gotta be the kids. It's gotta be the kids. I just love being able to, I mean, my takeaway with this job is hoping that when I leave that the kids have a fantastic experience and that they want to continue doing theater. That's kind of like my hope and my dream, but also like I'm performing too and learning a ton, so it is also honing my craft as an actor and continuing to work and better myself, and things like that. I will say working with kids and being on stage with children during a performance, your improv skills improve so much, because you never know what a kid will do on stage. You just don't.
Yeah, that is
Um,
true.
I also have a note sheet. Yeah. I also have a note sheet in my phone of hilarious things kids say in rehearsals, because it's just unhinged, absolutely unhinged. So that is such a fun part of the job. But it's really, really hard to leave on Sundays because we leave these communities to go to the next and we miss the kids. We really miss the kids. It's really hard not to like build really cool relationships with them.
Yeah.
So that is definitely the toughest part. But I will say the kids are like they just make my day. So it's been wonderful.
Oh, that's so sweet. I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but I wasn't expecting you to say that. So that's really sweet. I love kids. Oh.
I love them. I love them. So
Final question. Where do you see yourself in the future? What's next for Lizzy Fleissner?
yes, my contract is over December 16th. I will be back home for Christmas. Um, it'll be the wrap up of my near 7 month tour with this company, and I'll be ready for a break. I'll be ready for a break. Um, I I am currently planning a move to New York City, which is insane. It's happening. It's finally happening. Ideally, I really wanted to move when COVID hit in 2020, right after graduation. Um, but the pandemic just did not allow for that. I had, as we know, we had several friends that were in New York that ended up moving home during the pandemic. And it just, for me, it was trying to work here, stay in class, stay productive, and then I'll move to New York when the time is right. And now is just I've been on tour. I just really think that now after this tour gets over will be the best time for me to head out there. Um, I've been in close contact with some friends out there and moving plans. Couple of us were planning on moving out there together, and then my tour got extended. I was just supposed to be on for the summer, got extended to December. So I know Joseph. I've been chatting with Joseph Sanford quite a bit. He just recently moved out there, and then I'll be
That's
headed out there
exciting.
hopefully pretty quickly. I might take some time home. Um, After New Year's and things like that. But I do fully intend. I was thinking January, it's going to be freezing. It's going to be the dead of winter there in New York. But I really for sure want to be there by March. Like that's my like absolute latest time to be there goal would be by March.
Yeah.
So it's
March is when
insane,
all
but
the
it's
like,
finally happening.
yeah, that's awesome. March is when like all the auditions really, you're like, when I was there, prior to the pandemic, one of the people that moved home, um, like all the auditions had like started happening, and the waits and lines at Pearl Studios at Ripley, like every single day, there was something new, and then things started getting canceled in March, and then everything got
Mhm.
canceled. So, yeah, no, I think that's awesome. That's so exciting that you're going up there. I'm so excited for you. It's, I think
It's
also,
happening.
I think it's really smart that you didn't go because nothing was happening in 2020 and 2021. I feel like things are finally kind of getting back to normal. Um, and I think it's like perfect time for you. You have experience on your resume. You've worked professionally, you've have experience touring. So I think that you're like gonna flourish there. I'm so excited for you.
I can't wait. Are you living,
Thank you.
so are you gonna live with someone? Or are you gonna live by yourself? I think you like loosely touched on that, but are you
Yeah,
not sure?
I'm still kind of thinking about that one. We have so many friends from Wesleyan that are out there. But I've lived alone before. When I was in Omaha working, I lived in my own apartment for 3 years almost. And I personally love living alone. I thrive off of it. I love having my own space. So if I can find an affordable studio apartment, that is 100% like would be my first choice. But then again, New York's expensive. So if there's somebody that is also looking for a roommate and I find contact with somebody, I would strongly consider moving in with a roommate as well. So that one's kind of a little bit up in the air. Ideally, I would love to still live alone and have my own space. But sometimes things just don't work out that way. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. But I just know that now is if I didn't go, I would always regret not going. Like I feel like I would resent myself if I never gave it a shot.
That's how I felt
Um
too. I'm glad I
yeah.
went.
So it's something to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're glad that you went. So that's like the whole point for me. Like I really just I think it'll be good for me. It'll be really, really good for me. And it's something that I've always really, really hoped and dreamed to do. So, and when
Yeah.
I am in New York visiting, it's like, I just feel like I'm meant to be there. I'm always so happy when I go and visit the city. And just, it's just always been a dream of mine. And I'm really happy that we're finally pushing to make it come true. So,
It should be. That's awesome.
That's
yeah.
me every time I'm here.
Very different.
I like
Yeah.
walk around and I'm like, "Ah, I love it here."
Yeah.
Like I'm living here.
And you look so happy. You
it's
look
a
so happy.
it's a very like once you're there and you're living there, you'll be like, whoa. And it'll be hard. It'll be so
I
hard.
really feel like shocked. Like when I was in New York, I feel like the shock of being there and like actually being like, wow, I've wanted to do this since I was like 14, 15 years old. And I'm here now. And that's crazy. And like you'd have like all these moments of like, I did it. Like I did what I said I was gonna do. And that's like really cool.
Yeah.
It's very different like visiting and living there, but I mean everyone has their own like individual experience. Mine wasn't amazing, and that's okay. I did it anyway. So I hope you have a fantastic experience with hot water in your apartment. So
Oh well
Adulting is so fun.
when you move, Lizzie, oh my gosh. I'm about to hit you up. I'm gonna go spend like 48 hours in New York, if that's okay.
Oh, literally, I've been really wanting to like make a trip back up there.
We should go together. Spend like
You should come visit. Seriously, crash at my apartment. We can make this happen. I would absolutely love to have you guys stay with me for a few days if you guys want to come up.
good
Oh my God.
figure something out. That'd be so
Yeah.
fun. A little girls' weekend with Lizzie.
Yeah.
Oh, I love New York too. I mean,
Let's
I
go.
never wanted to live there, but every time I go, I do love being there. If that
I'm like really excited to go back. I think it's gonna be a very like healing experience for me. Um,
Right.
I'm like very like I'm ready to. I feel like I'm finally ready to like go back. I honestly would like love to go back and like go to an audition and be like, "Huh, why not? What the heck? Let's go together."
Broadway Dance Center has drop-in classes that are awesome. I did a drop-in intensive last time I visited, and
Yeah.
it was
I've
great.
always wanted
So,
to do
Awesome.
that. I've
Yeah.
wanted to go to Broadway
Yeah,
dancing. I've been there, but I've never taken a class.
yeah, yeah. The talent is unbelievable. I mean, it's insane. But I really enjoyed taking their class. I did a burlesque jazz class at night. That was so much fun. It was so much fun. So I would love to go back and do some dance intensives. Emily and I danced together a lot in college, and Jess too. And it's just it was a very high point of college, is being able to share the stage with you guys. So
My first time being a dance captain was with you as the like main dance captain. I was your assistant.
yeah. That was with Alan Bennett. I love Alan Bennett so
Literally the best. I feel like we've talked about him so much the past few episodes.
on.
So like, oh,
Greg and Alan, just incredible human beings. We just love them so much.
yeah, they're
I just learned so much from him. I feel like.
Yes.
And I've
Agreed.
never been like so, I don't know the right word. It was always just so like, oh my God, during Footloose one time, do you know the oh my gosh, the country outfits that we had to wear?
Yes, they were from Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Yeah.
But I asked Rebecca, and because they had the stars on the boobs and then on the butts. And
Yeah.
oh gosh, What else did we wore them in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels too,
Well,
Emily,
they
my
were
freshman.
hilarious and just so funny. And I will never forget one day, I think it was before an actual like performance too, or maybe it was during tech. I don't remember. Either way, Alan comes to the side, looks at me, stops me, and like grabs my arms and basically said something like, "Oh, you look just so perfect," or something.
And it makes you feel amazing.
No, and I was like, "What?" He was like, "Oh, you're just look so great. Like you're gonna kill this." Like, and I was like, "Oh, thank you."
I literally, during Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I had so many costume changes because they were like, you look
You
great. You look
did.
fantastic. And I was like, oh my God, my body dysmorphia is disappearing right now. Like,
So
they,
Jeff
like, I think
also
they
wore,
had, like, 7
yeah.
costumes in that whole show because they were like, we like it. Just change for your next entrance.
okay.
Jeff wore the sexiest blue dress I have ever seen
Best
in
costume
my entire life. Your Lenore costume, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. It
It's
was
so
so
pretty.
beautiful.
I was like, I think like that costume and then my like jumpsuit that I wore for the finale of Xanadu are like 2 costumes that I'm like, I literally should have stolen that or like bought it or something. They were so good. And really, honestly, like Simon and Rebecca, they hooked me up with costumes. Like I never had a bad costume at Wesleyan. So Simon and
Yeah.
Rebecca, shout out to y'all if you're listening. Y'all are the real ones. Love you guys.
Shout out Alan
So
for
good at it.
constantly making us feel good about, about ourselves.
Shout out to Alan and Greg.
I never met
Yes.
Greg. Well, perfect timing because now our time is running out again. Thank you so much, Lizzie, for agreeing to be on. I'm so glad that we had you and we thought of you, and I really appreciate you sharing your tour
Wow.
experience. And I was just so excited I mean, you're not in real life, but it's very exciting to see you on a screen.
I'm so grateful that you guys had me here. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to just be able to chat and catch up a little bit. And I'll look forward to staying in touch more. And hopefully, we can plan a New York trip or something fun.
Yeah.
I love New York. I'd go for the weekend. It'll happen. It'll happen. We'll figure it out.
Busting it right now. We're making plans. It's in the works. We're doing it.
We'll all
Yes. Oh,
be
I love you guys so much. I love you guys so, so, so much. Well, and I just, you guys being able to do a podcast and continue sharing stories and what life is like as an actor is huge. So I really, really hope that you keep doing it. And I'm glad that it's going well.
Thank you. We appreciate that too.
Thank you.
Well, thanks
Of
for
course.
listening, everyone. If you're listening, as always, please share, like, comment, follow us on all the things.
We're on YouTube now.
We are. So
Woohoo!
subscribe on there. We'll try to share videos on there if people prefer to watch, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.